Hey Ton, are you there? I think I have you right there. Hey, there you
Yes,
are,
yes,
Ton.
yes.
How are you
Hi.
doing?
Very well, Sean. Everything is fine here in the
Yeah,
Netherlands. Beautiful weather. So
yeah,
let's
that's
go,
good.
I would say.
That's good. Would you mind moving just a little bit to the left? Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, you're nicely in the
Okay.
middle. We have invited a guest today, Ton. Very often people hear just the two of us rambling about all kind of stuff, but I think people also once in a while want to hear something from other people, and I am so pleased to ask in a few moments Alessandro Painsi. That's, I think he said that I should pronounce his name. You know him better than I do, but our audience doesn't know him at all. So let's ask him in the show so that we can all know Mr. Alessandro Painsi, and the title of today is A Painter's Vision on Dance. Let's see if we get that correct too. Yeah, there we go. Hello, Alessandra. How are you? All the way from Denmark.
Hello, Sean. Hello, Ton. I'm doing great. What about you guys? Doing good?
Yeah, good.
Everything good. Everything is fine.
Oh, that's
Everything good.
perfect.
For our international guest, Denmark is also in Europe, and it's a little bit north of the Netherlands in the same time zone Ton and Alexander are. I'm in a different time zone. What is the city that you are calling from, Alexander?
I live
Alessandro?
I live in a small city called Aalborg,
Hmm.
and it's the pretty much the biggest northern city in Europe. Like it's you drive 1 hour from here, you're pretty much at the most northern point in Europe, like where you can like land wise. So we're pretty far up. But it's we had beautiful weather also the last couple of months actually. But today it started raining just right now. I'm so
Good,
happy for it. It was too
good.
hot and too dry now.
So happy that Denmark is still Denmark with a lot of rain.
It was Denmark. We were not used to the sun.
Okay. Well, we are not here to talk about the weather, no much, no matter how much that is. I introduced you with a painter's vision on dance. Did I do right with that title?
Yes and no. I would like. It's always difficult to define, like boxes and stereotypes for creatives. I think, but I started after I stopped dancing professionally. I started painting, so I would say starting point as a painter is very good. But meanwhile, I changed in so many different directions, and I work in so many different industries and with so many different people that it's much more than just painting right now. But it was the starting point.
Good, 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 good. How did you two know each other? Met each other, Ton and Alessandro.
Maybe Alessandro can tell that. I think it was in Slovenia in a training camp, in a ballroom training camp. So we put it a little bit in a box of dancing in ballroom dancing. And this is where we meet each other. And I think you did the workshop and or the lecture. I don't know what it was. And the private lesson you had also, I thought. Was that
I think
correct?
I think so too, yeah. But I was hooked after the workshop because you had such a different view on dancing, and you came in with such a fresh insight for me. Where I was just like it just blew my mind. Like it was, I never saw that side, and I thought it was just incredible. So I was so stoked when you contacted me again, and I'm so happy to sit here and talk with you guys today.
Cool, cool,
Super
cool.
also to speak with you many years ago. And yeah, I many people say that. And now, after my book, I developed even more in my language. Not that I'm speaking well English, but I use more different words for the dancing because words and movement they are connect.
Yeah.
And so I try not to speak in subjective words like good, bad, better, natural, normal,
Mhm.
etc. So I try,
Beautiful, ugly.
stay away from that one, eh, Sean?
Yeah,
Ah,
beautiful, ugly,
beautiful. Yes.
ugly, all that kind of
Ugly.
Beautiful.
things.
Yes.
Mhm. Well, sometimes within a context, that's fine too. We did actually, Alessandro. We did a whole series on language and dance. In this case, we probably could do a whole series on art and dance as well. And my first experience was my brother. He was a painter and a sculptor as well. And he took me when I was young to a museum. And he asked me, "What do you think of this painting?" And I said, "Oh, I think it's ugly." And then after a while, he started to say to me, "Can you say something else, please, different than ugly or beautiful?" So let's connect a little bit your dancing and how it influenced your art, actually, because you started maybe mostly as a dancer first.
I
Uh,
think I think one point quick before, because you said, like
yes.
when you started first art with your brother and you said it's ugly. I think it's so interesting. I heard it so much from so many collectors nowadays. Who, when they start buying art, they start buying it like beautiful, subjectively beautiful stuff. Very realistically painted and very naturalistic. And then with time, they start buying more and more like um, stuff that's out of their comfort zone, and because they
Mm-hmm.
start using time with it and they start exploring that world. So I think it's such an interesting concept, like when you see something and you think it's ugly, or you see something and you think, oh, I could have done it myself. But it's always like the kind of gate to open, like this the key to open this little gate. So I think it's actually in the beginning super important that you have that subjective side to it, right? Because you
Definitely.
you, you definitely, you put it in some box, you have to open at some point. Because if you from the beginning on think it's interesting and you want to explore, that just doesn't happen with something that's so far out of your comfort zone. So it's a good starting point.
Yeah, I like that. I love that addition. I don't know about you, Tom, but yeah, that's often my words for, let's say looking at art were very limited at the time, and it probably only had two words at that moment, beautiful. And so it was the first starting point for me, for my brother to ask me more about it, and then more words came to that point. I like that a lot. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Cool. Cool.
Yes. Maybe, Alessandro, what you dance ballroom, and when you dance ballroom, um, and I think you stopped with it now, or you still dancing?
No, I danced for like 10 years or 12 years in total. And then I stopped when I moved to Denmark when I was 17 afterwards. So like I think a few years after we had the workshop with you. And then in Denmark I danced for two more years, and then I stopped. And then
Hmm.
I started painting afterwards, and it was really connected to why I stopped dancing, because I started missing that creative side to dancing, and that a lot of things like didn't work out on how the situation was in Denmark. And I started getting more and more frustrated with the fact that for me dancing became more and more like pure sport, and the whole artistic side of it started fading away a little bit. And I know it's also has to do with me, and my insight on and how I perceive things. But my interest for it started like fading away, and I wanted to do something that's purely creative, where I don't have any, like um, need to know any techniques or anything special. And for me, painting, like taking up a brush, taking up some color, and taking a canvas and just doing whatever I wanted to do without, thinking about is it right or wrong, or does it fit in, in some technical textbook, or how does it work? Like it was just such a freeing thing for me, and that kind of hooked me. That's what hooked me with dancing when I started. That free feeling of I could just do whatever I wanted to do, and then through the process I kind of lost that, and it was what opened the door for something new.
So when you would look to the dancing, you can put that more in boxes, or technically, and the painting also, or there's a difference in it in this too.
No, I think it was I don't think you can put that more in a box than the other thing. I think it has to do with how far I was in my career compared to how far I was, sorry, in my like art career, right? Because when already went to trainings camps, and you have competitions, and you have certain elements you have to follow. um, and with painting it was a complete blank sheet. Like there was no guidelines, there was nothing, like nobody telling me what to do, because I didn't know anything about it. So it gave me that free space to just explore. where dancing I was already like that far that it was very like for me it was very narrow and I could not see, like that blank space at that moment anymore. And that's why I loved the workshop with you back then so much because it showed me, like this
Mm,
huge blank space, to explore.
yeah.
But in Denmark, it kind of got more and more narrow to, winning and like medals and all that stuff and pure technique, technique, technique. How fast can you be? How fast can you turn? And for me, it kind of got too narrow a little bit, I think.
Cool. So, so what? I mean, I think that's an interesting discussion. Um, what caused that narrowness? Is it teachers? Was it how you interpreted things? What made it narrow for you?
For sure, my own personal perception of it.
Hmm.
And a lot of circumstances. My dad got cancer around that time. They were in Austria. I was in Denmark. Then things started falling a little bit apart between me and my dance partner. So, like, I think everything around dancing kind of started, like falling apart in a way.
Hmm.
And so, dancing for me did not become like this beautiful free space anymore. It became for me this like because nothing else around me worked. So I don't know. It was for sure my own perception because dancing was always the same. It's very like it is free. It's just how you like see it yourself. But I think because of all the circumstances around me, and yeah, it kind of there was some unhappiness in me that made it like very narrow. I think.
Cool, cool. Well, very honest answer, I guess.
Yes, and I'm very impressed because you start without any something in your backpack about painting and you just start with it. Is that correct, what I understand? So I think this is a real artist because you start without any rules and you just start your style, stay close by yourself, and produce the art what you want to produce. And the I feel limit like in the dancing because still you have their rules, and if you interpretate the rules differently, somebody has different expectations from that one and they will disappoint. But with the art they can take it or they not take it. So when they have expectations that you will make a tree like realistic and human beings, they would be on the wrong address with you because your art is something really where you can see people in it or a tree, but you make it like Alessandro would make that. So it's how you would call that art, the art what you do.
I think that's again something like with boxes. Like how do you call like a style? Um,
Yeah, style.
I think it's like I work mostly with it's called mixed media. I used a lot of different materials to work. So I use fabrics, I sew things, I use paint, I use spray, I use like everything that I get my hands on. But
Yeah.
I specialized especially in like fabric work because
Yeah, so
I think you had a very good point with that when you have that you know in art like you really have to try to be yourself and like you have to find okay what makes you special and you have to find this little gem inside you that
Mhm.
that makes you stand out from the crowd. But I think the same you can do in dancing, and I think the dancers who do that, and again that's why I was so thankful for your workshop. They made it that's the trainers, it's them that really make a difference because they push the boundaries for what dance sport can be, um,
Yeah.
and it's a continuous development for what it can become. And so I
Yeah.
don't think it's so different. I think you just have to, even though maybe it does not fit into the direction of dance sport that you want to go, but you want to be there, maybe just keep pushing that direction. And if it takes 10 years for you to knock on these doors before they open, you have to keep knocking because that's how
Yeah.
you create
Well,
change.
yeah. Well, we as in the dance DMs, Ton and Jean, we don't limit ourselves to ballroom or Latin dancing at all. It's just where we came from originally. to be honest, and it's definitely something that I still like. But that's just one box that I like to play in. Sometimes I choose to play in a box, which I think is fine too. But we love to go once in a while or very often outside that box, and we also challenge the box itself. That's a little bit how we try to say it. One thing that I picked on your explanation is mixed media that you like to do. I think, Tom, what a lot of dancers miss, whether you take our box, ballroom dancing, Latin dancing, or other boxes, it is per definition almost mixed media, right? You have your body, you have your music, you have what you are wearing, you have the light, you have even the temperature of the room, you have the size of the room. There's a lot of mixed media going on. My teacher called it, one of my teachers called it the strength of the medium, right? So can you play with all these factors instead of only looking at what I think it is? What is your opinion about that if you cross this discipline thing?
I think it's a super beautiful way of seeing it. I never thought about it that way, to be honest. When you said mixed media in the beginning, now I thought about different dance styles and how you can everything influences one another. But I think if you see mixed media like your shirt, the light, the partner, the touch, the floor, and all these things connecting, I think it's a really beautiful way of seeing it, and it makes it more whole for me when I think about it right now, instead of just it's a performance and it's you and her, or another dancer, maybe you alone. It becomes more like a universal thing. It's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's definitely if you look at what what Ton creates. It's
Mm.
sometimes Ton. Maybe you can challenge. I mean, maybe you can ask or tell us a little bit about the challenge that you come across when you work with people and you start to introduce this mixed media concept. And they what? We have to put on those clothes, and yeah, Ton is very challenging. I'm not saying I'm not, but Ton is
How do you
specific.
how do you work, Ton? Like, if you choreograph, like, do you come with a preconceived idea, or do you feel the vibe of the people you work with, and you work on the spot, or how is it for you?
Actually, I asked a lot of questions, and I never give answers, because when I give an answer, then I give a direction. So when I give a direction, I already influence the art. So I try to ask and to understand. And even if the dancers has no answer, we will look together for answer. But still, I try to put my opinion more to the side, because when I say one word, it can influence the pathway of the art. So, and I'm aware of that one. So I try to be very careful with my words, and to help them to get a stronger person and make a decision where they are happy with it at the end. That's the most important for me.
Wow.
So, and this is how I create choreography. Actually, I look to my material. Now, I was in high school for musical dancers, and they never did a cha-cha and a rumba, and they had a few lessons, and I wanted to dance like the international style, and I said no, I will not use that. And they make some funny things like ah, I said okay, we will use that. Oh no, it was just a joke. No, no, no. I said it's very nice to put it in because it happened suddenly. And the other one did like a ballet dancer, like standing like a ballet dancer. I said okay, we will use that. uh, Look to me. I said no, that was a joke. Yeah, I like that jokes. This makes it very special, and it breaks the pattern, and they not expect it, so the audience will also not expect it when I put it in to that one in the choreography. And this is mainly how I work in dancing. And I see it also like, you have the person, that's your material. You have time, space. You have um, there's certain thoughts. I will use this as material, so I not use it as right or wrong, because right would say it's an endpoint, and
Mhm.
wrong would say it's a starting point, but a starting point for my expectation. So this is also not what I want. So we have no beginning and no end, and we start somewhere. What? somebody has in the backpack. And I try to open doors, and then we come to a result. It's actually quite nice. So I will not prepare it. Prepare it so less as possible.
Super nice.
Cool.
So
Cool. I
interesting to
like it.
see
Yeah.
how, yeah, how you come into it.
Yeah.
What you
Very.
said? I couldn't understand that, Alessandro.
I think it's so interesting how you know where you because like even if you say you don't have a starting point, your starting point is like understanding the people you work with and feeling them,
Material.
feeling the ideas, and I think
Yes.
it's so cool because your choreographies are so like different and just incredible, and it feels like that somebody must have had a whole team of people just to work like everything out, and it's so refreshing to hear. It's the complete opposite. It's like no expectations, no nothing, just you just try.
Y- Yes, when I look to your paintings, I see the dance like a painting because your painting is also space.
Yeah.
And where you start at your, how you say, Duke, Sean? What's that?
Canvas.
Canvas.
Canvas. Yes, when you start on it, in that space on the canvas, you start from a point. You could start left, in the corner, down, up. So you start somewhere, and this is your starting point. So you follow your inner feeling, your inner pressure, and you put the first one on the painting, and then it just start. Maybe you not think about it to start left, right, or down or under. So how you start your first stroke on the canvas?
It's I tried. I think I tried a little bit like you. I tried to be as open as possible and not come with any preconceived ideas. That when I meet in the studio, I try to okay, what does my gut feeling tell me? What feels right? What materials do I want to try? And I mean, I cannot ask questions, because my materials don't answer my questions.
Hmm.
But I try to go really much after okay, what feels right. I don't come with a preconceived idea for okay, today I want to make an abstract painting, or today
Hmm.
I want to use these words on a painting. I just go with the flow, and I try to break this rhythm of using like the square canvas as much as possible. And I barely use square canvases when I start working, but I start working with loose fabrics. Um, and I cut them up, I sew them back together, and I keep working in that process until suddenly like you get this one little spark, and suddenly like
Hmm.
all everything like connects, and then the piece maybe takes 5 minutes.
Beautiful.
The best pieces take 5 minutes. The worst pieces I made took take like 6 7 months.
6 hours. 6 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because then you start like Tom said, you put the first thing on it, then you have to react on it. So it's like an equation you have to solve every time, and you have to see okay, what's the next step. And the further you go in the process, the more limited your steps are, because you already have this canvas filled up, or you use these materials, or so you go like again, you narrow it more and more down, and sometimes it gets too narrow that it becomes too pre-planned, and it just does it feels it,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel and like right anymore. It feels too planned. Then I have to start over again, and start with like sheets of paper or different fabrics, and keep it as open as possible until I hit this like one little mark where I'm like, oh,
Nice.
now I understand it.
Nice. But let me ask you, gentlemen, two things, and then I have a little remark to what a thing that you said, Alessandro. But so you used the word, Tom too used the word a lot of process, right? It's the process of creation, and it is, can you truly start with a blank sheet, right? If you are filled with rules and expectations, you actually mentally don't have a real blank sheet in front of you, which you said. When I truly have that, it goes really, it flows. So that's one thing. I think with traditional paintings, we often look only at the end product, right? So we have to imagine the process. Even if we don't see the process of the creation of the dance itself is a process just going from one point in time to another point in time, which makes it a slightly different way of looking at it. I would love actually to see your process of creation as well, Alessandra. I think that would be, in my mind, as a that would be incredible thing, and I would love to hear your both perspective on that. End product, see a painting on the wall, or maybe more like almost like a process where a dancer goes through a process every time.
I
Hmm.
think a big difference is the if you would film the process of somebody working, and some artists did that and they make beautiful documentaries about that.
Yeah.
But you always feel like when we have the conversation right now, right? There's a camera on. If you would have the conversation privately at a cafe, the conversation would be slightly different. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and I think the process would get altered, right? Because in dancing, you know that okay, I have to perform this. So the whole thing is based on I have to perform. Like we do this to make a show for somebody. Um, like if you do it, yeah, Latin dancing competitions, or if you do show dance. In painting, the process is very individual, and the process is very fragile. It's like when you, I think when you're in practice with your coach, or when you practice with your dance partner. If you have other couples around you, and you think you always have a little bit in the back of your head, like somebody is looking, somebody maybe who is, my competition is looking. I always felt that when I was practicing with other couples, there was always, there's this little challenge going on. And the same is with painters mostly, that when you work together, there's a little challenge. We tried to break that, and we started a 1,200 square meter big studio space where we have 25 different artists working. So, we are used to working together collaboratively, helping one another. So we have this positive vibe. But I think if you'd film the process, I would move differently, and I would do things differently than I would do if I would not get filmed. And it's
Okay.
subconscious probably, but there's still this barrier to it. And I think I
Interesting.
like keeping it, you know, not as like the process of it. I love the process. That's by far the best. Um, but I like to keep it for me and the people I work with, because there's this magic going on. I don't want to get
Yeah.
destroyed by, like some audience
Yeah.
giving
Is that the
feedback and
same for
what.
you, Ton? If you choreograph, you work with a group of dancers, would you, if you would do that, let's say, with a lot of audience, would that change for you, the way you
No,
work?
no, doesn't matter. Is there one in the room or 1,000? Of course, when there are thousands in the room, also nice. But no, I stay close by myself,
Mm,
close by the dancers, and no, I do it not for my goldfish, not for my dog, not for my mom, not for my wife. And first, I try to put the finger on the art of freedom. So no rules, no boundaries, just what it is at that moment. The only issue what is the language and the words are not on the same level, and that can sometimes be a little bit in the process more heavy or more difficult
Between you and the
or more
dancers, you mean?
challenging. Yes, with the dancers.
Hmm.
And if they understand my language, they understand that I not tell them what they must do, because when I tell them what they must do, already the art is broken. Because better than that I dance by myself, because why they must dance like me? They must dance like themselves and put a footprint behind them and be proud of it, because once you dance it, it will be also forgotten. And so when you have a painting, it's there. So once you put the first strike, it's there. So you can paint over it, but once it's there, it will not disappear. And in dancing, it will disappear. So I stay close by myself, and I like when it's audience there, because then they can listen to the language what I use, because the language are it's very very important. Yes, even how they stand, the body language, the expression. So this is my material, um, and your material is the canvas, the colors, the brushes, and yes, your thoughts. And my thoughts is also an how you say, like a material. So, and I want not to influence the person and respect them what they think. But what I feel is that the dancers who I'm working with, they think in boxes.
mm,
So, and I let them realize that they think in boxes, because I cannot blame them, because from the history they get this from their parents, from their environment, and this makes them what they are. And if you paint, you have your conversation with the canvas and the colors and the brushes, and you will speak with them from your inner feelings, and the form will be what it is on the canvas. And this is what I like. And for me, it's the form, what they produce on the floor, and this I let them realize. So we do first explore the world, explore how they move on the floor
Okay.
in space and time. Once they have feel that, um, no boundaries on it, so uh, they will continue on it. It's like you also, once you are busy with that canvas, you have the flow and you continue. And I have the same with the dancing. So there is no rules for me, but I feel the dancers have rules, and when they have rules, I feel already the limitation. So that was a long story.
Yes, a
No,
little bit, Tom. But I
Mhm.
liked it because a couple of things that you said you explore with the dancers how they are, which actually, in other words, Alessandro said the same thing. I start to use fabrics, and then you start to know the fabric, what you can and cannot do with them, right? Because you know the fabric. Was one thing that actually struck me I wrote that down. You said I cannot talk with my material. Tom actually said you actually do, which actually, I'm an old coach, so I'm far in my 60s already. So I think you should try that. Just see if they actually talk back to you, because I think, Alessandra, they do. Your
no,
material talks back to you.
I definitely agree that they do in like that I have a connect like a conversation with my
Yes.
material, right? But I think there's a beautiful symbiosis going on. What I remember from dancing, what I loved also so much, when you have a partner and you get some completely different side of the story, and there's different movement to it. Because when I work alone in my studio,
Mm-hmm.
um, I have a certain like a certain process, a certain way of doing things, and I try to break these processes every day. And the most important thing for me is to surprise myself with every work I make.
Nice.
If I don't surprise myself in the process and with what I do, I think it's I don't want to just copy my work again and again and again, because I think that's a huge it would be a huge disappointment for me. I want to explore. I don't want to be put in a box for, okay, this is what I do. Um, but the symbiosis what with a different partner, I feel I have with the collaborations I do, with fashion and with the designers I work with, where I can have the conversation like we have the conversation right now, and I get their side of the story, from a completely different point of view, and I learn so much through that process. We can talk and we can see where things overlap, and our ideas get challenged. Where my fabrics, it's a different conversation, and it's a different kind of conversation, that for sure I'm in the process than
Cool.
when you work with somebody, human, or some living organism as such. And
Yes, I wanted to say something, because after the exploration, we looking for muscle memory,
yeah,
and then we try to repeat that what we did before in the dancing. But I put something new uh, on top. It's muscle memory manipulation. Once you have it, you break it again and you manipulate that. And the same with, you said copy. I wouldn't use by myself copy. I would use imitate. You imitate maybe your pictures, because copy would be one on one the same. And when you imitate your pictures, you are close to the style, what you want to do or what you did before. But also, you have a muscle memory. When you
right,
do that muscle memory, so you explore first, then you repeat it, you build up some muscle memory. But then I think the next stage would be how I can break that muscle memory again to create something new from it. And I see also the same in dancing. Once we can handle it, I try not to repeat it in the same way, because you stand in a different space, in a different time, in a different environment, and you have different feelings, and the form is actually what it gets when it's ready, from your feeling, from your, yes, can you see that? So the muscle, you have first exploration, muscle memory, and then you try to break that muscle memory, and you manipulate that what once you create it.
How do you change it in dancing so much? Because in paint, in art, it's quite easy. If I'm, if I worked with my brush for 3 4 years, the brush controls me, and I don't control the brush anymore. I can change to a different material, right? I can really break it down quite fast. I can say, okay, I only work with my fingers, so I have to completely restructure how I use color, how I use materials. How do you work with it when you dance and choreograph it?
Now, when I dance, freedom, just no boundaries, no rules, because and it makes it also challenging, because the dancers what I get, they are formed by their history, and to get through to that one, it's also a process, because they think mostly, sorry, that's judgment in good and wrong, a bad and good, and beautiful and ugly. But for me, it not exist. It's just the history of the evolution, what they feel as beautiful or good or wrong. And in dancing, for me, I can only speak for me and also for Sean, because we
You
speak
cannot
many
speak for
times
me.
about it. Hmm?
You cannot speak for me.
No, I know, but we not speak in this language,
Yeah.
because this will put end product on it. Because when I say it's beautiful, what you want to make more than beautiful,
Yeah.
fantastic beautiful,
Yeah.
it's not exist. So
Well.
actually, it's a beautiful what you feel,
Hmm.
and this is how I try to approach dance, also totally
Yeah.
of free mind. But I have my book and I have my words in it. Like, I would never say copy that movement, so try to imitate it. And
Mm.
because imitate, you need some feelings, how you say, I come not on the English word, but yes, Sean, you wanted to
Yes.
tell something, so I come not out
Yes.
of my
No,
words.
that's
Sorry.
okay. That's okay. Well, I mean, I wanted to answer Alessandra's question. So first of all, I think that in a lot of teachers they say you have to do the same thing, which is actually really impossible in dance, because every moment that we talk, my whole body and my environment has already changed a little bit. Just being aware of the constant change in your body and think more than about recreating is already change actually the dance perspective completely. The constant trying to think that you improve quality to by making the same is a contradiction in terms in itself, because how can you improve when you try to do the same thing? You can only improve if you are willing to do something else. Does that make sense? It might on surface look the same for a lot of people. Um, but it specifically, if Don and I talk about how you go from one point to the other point and how many ways you can do that. So another teacher that I have is saying, yeah, it looks maybe the same, but every nuance would always be different, even if you don't want it to be. Just accept that as a truth will make you give you more freedom. Does that make sense?
Oh,
So
definitely.
so that's it, guys. Time goes really fast, by the way. It's we're already talking more than 40 minutes. We covered quite a bit. If you think about it, if you listen through it, I will make a little recap of it. We mostly explored, dance, art, end product, process. We talked about language. We talked about strength of the medium, right? Mixed media. That's where that discussion start. I think that was beautiful. Alessandro, me from my side, I probably have a few hundred more questions I would like to explore with you. I hope our audience will do that too. Is there one thing if I give you a few more minutes, there one thing that you at least want to leave behind in this episode, because I'm sure we'll invite you one more time, if not multiple times, back in
Mm.
the show. But if there one thing that you say, hey, I wanna leave the show with at least telling this.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think the one thing that for me really really stands out in no matter what project I work on, and it's just work together. I love like every project I have where there's multiple people involved and multiple different views on it, and we I try to set like all the projects up in a way where everybody has complete creative freedom, and I think that's such an important aspect when you work with multiple people. And I think also in dancing, right? Like when you have a partner or when you have a group, that everybody has complete freedom, and there's it's I think that's such a vital aspect, which a lot of especially painters forget sometimes because you're so used to working alone, that working together can move everything so much more, and you can just learn so much more, and like explore yourself so much more and other things. That working together and helping one another is key. Is like yeah, just that the togetherness. That's what I really hope that a lot of people um, keep exploring in the future. Like get together with people from different fields and try to push boundaries.
Here to that. Well, thank you so much for being our guest, Alessandro. Like I said, we would love to have you. We have you back very soon. I'll say goodbye already to you right now, and then Ton and I will close it off. Thank you again for being our guest, and
Thank
hope to
you so
see you
much.
back real soon.
Have
Hey,
a great day,
Ton.
guys.
That was great. I'm so glad that you know this person. It was, we could have at least, I think 4 more hours of discussions with him.
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. It was really fantastic. And you can see how close art and dance are together. And yes, absolutely, we must speak more about it. And what I like from Alessandro, he we can produce maybe his website or is
Yep.
where you can reach and can see his paintings. Original, he is from Austria, what I understood, and he lives in Denmark, and very colorful. His painting is one of a kind, so I'm really glad to know him and that he developed his life like this and that he is growing and growing every time. So thank you, Alessandro, also.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. And yes, I will in the show notes. I will place, the links to if you want to know more about Alessandro or you want to contact him. I'm sure he's open to. Well, I'm just throwing this in. He might not be, but I hope he's he's willing to answer any questions and so on. All right, this was Dance Gems, another episode. I'm not sure what we will do next time, but we'll see you hopefully next time. This was Ton and Jean. And with this, we say bye bye.
Bye bye. Yeah.